You're listening to Artworkers, the Independent Artists Forum. I'm your host, Carl Bindman. Thanks for tuning in. For today's episode, I am joined by actor Jane Purnell. In our conversation, Jane and I discuss her standout performance in a short film fresh from the Palm Springs Film Festival. We celebrate the journey of finding an artistic voice and confidence therein, and we look at the diverse uses of fuck-ups and surprises. Over to you, Carl. You're allowed to laugh. Laughing's good. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Artworkers, the Independent Artists Forum. I am still your host, Carl Bindman, and I am joined today by a very exciting guest, Jane F. Purnell.
Whoa.
Do you use the F ever? I feel like I it's in my mind for some reason.
My Instagram handle, it's got the F in there.
Okay.
And my email. But,
all right.
Yeah, man.
Jane Purnell, everybody.
Yeah, Jane Purnell. And you can throw the F in there if you want to, you know.
So where does it go? Is it Jane Purnell? Jane Purnell?
It is, so my middle name is Fortescue.
Amazing.
Thank you. You know what? I think so too. My parents gave it to me. And yeah, it's a family name, so it's a beautiful name.
It's iconic.
Yeah, thank you.
So are you. Jane is an actor and nothing else. I think one of the first we've had on this show, maybe except for Helen, our first guest so far, who is not a actor slash director slash plus.
Oh, yes.
So I guess kind of like me in that sense, an actor first. And you're based here in New York, and you are not from New York.
Correct.
Where are you from, Jane?
I am from a rural town in Virginia where I believe, unless this has changed, but I believe the cows outnumber the residents.
By how much? Is it like a danger?
You know, yeah, cows can be pretty dangerous, but I don't know what the tipping point is.
Okay.
You know, I don't, like, I'm not so sure, Carl.
Okay, well, we'll get back to you, dear listener, about the tipping point of cows, because I will say, if the cows do ever decide to seek justice, as is well within their rights, we should all look out.
It could happen.
It could happen. When did you come to New York? Did you come to New York for acting?
Yes. I was very irresponsible, and I said, I'm going to go move to New York. I moved to New York in 2019 after I graduated from the University of Virginia. Oh, that brings back memories. But yes,
Tell me.
Oh my God, Carl. Ugh, all right.
Is this an oh my God about the move? Is this an oh my God about the education?
I would say about the move, everything leading up to the move. So there was actually, I spent my first and second and I think part of my third year studying computer science. It was me running away from the fact that I'm an actor. I really did not want to lean into the acting because there was just a fear that was such a big mistake. Because I think there's just so much, I don't know, there's just so many horror stories about people pursuing acting. And there were other things going on in my life at the time, but I basically spent so much time studying computer science. And finally, the middle of my third year, I just said, screw it. I want to study drama.
What was it that sort of helped you make that decision?
Well, I wasn't very good at computer science.
No?
I mean, I was decent. I'm a very smart person, but I'm not like a scientist scientific number person. But I was taking some acting classes and some artistic classes in between. And I just realized they just made me so happier and so much more happier. And whenever I just thought about my future, I really couldn't see computer science. So I switched.
Yeah. The decision to study something other than acting is something that I did too, right? I think I've mentioned before.
Yes, you studied journalism.
I did journalism, and the school system in Montreal and Quebec, where I'm from, is a little different than elsewhere, except maybe than France, which is that high school is a little bit shorter and university is a little bit shorter, and there's something in between called cégep. And in cégep, that's usually when you kind of fuck around and be like, I want to try this, I want to try that. No, actually, I'm going to do this. And then you figure that out, and then you go to university to do the thing that you realized you wanted to do. And what I discovered in cégep was I really wanted to do theater because I was doing commerce at the time. But the thing that really stuck with me from cégep was I got involved in this little theater group called the Dawson Theater Collective, because I was doing an English class, and the woman who runs the English class, Anne Lambert, she is a playwright in Canada. She was a teacher at the National Theatre School. I did a little presentation in class, and she was like, hey, you should come to the auditions for the Dawson Theatre Collective. And I was like, sure. And then I just started doing that, and all my time went into that. What I did for university was also kind of ran away from the truth of, oh shit, I just need to fucking act. Because I was like, but there's no money in acting, there's no nothing. So I did journalism, which is kind of also storytelling, but not really understanding that journalism is also unbelievably difficult to make a life out of now more than ever. And so I also kind of started taking acting classes again in school and realized, well, if I'm going to do something fucking impossible, I'll do the thing that makes me happier. Yeah. When did you get exposed to acting, though?
Oh, that is a great question. So I had always enjoyed playing pretend as a child. And there was a summer, I'm trying to think, I think I was around 11 when I was really exposed to acting, because that was actually around the time that my mother passed away. And my stepmom at the time, I think she really wanted to give me a distraction. And she signed me up for a summer acting class at the new school I would be attending. So I think she wanted me to get used to the idea of a new school and meet kids who went to that school. So that's how I first got introduced to it. It was really fun. We got to put on a show at the end of the camp, and it was just a really lovely way for me to shine and have fun when everything on the outside was a little darker. Yeah.
Did you continue doing that in this was high school, 11, 12 in the States? Because again, it's a little different back home.
So I was 11, and it was, I think, going into 6th grade.
Okay.
And then high school. Sorry, you asked about high school.
Sorry, middle school is the term they're correct for here.
Yes.
I've been in America for 5 years, and there's things I refuse to learn, like Fahrenheit, and also how your school system works.
6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I did no acting. So it was just that summer before 6th grade that I did that little summer thing. Yeah. And then 9th grade, I was walking down the hallway, and this guy looked at me, and I think he was
Al Pacino.
He looked at me and he said, hey, you should audition for the drama club. And I just said, okay.
Like a student, a teacher?
Yeah. So he was a student, a little older than me. And I think it was after school, so there really weren't that many people. And he shouted at me down the hall. I had no idea who this person was, never talked to this person, but he said, hey, you should join the drama club. And I thought, okay. And so I did, and I got a part, and Yeah, I auditioned every year after that. So 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. I did the drama club. And a lot of it is thanks to my stepmother who put me into that summer camp. And also that guy who yelled at me down the hall and told me to audition.
That feels like so true about how a lot of people get into acting. Is there's the offer, obviously, somebody invites you to do it, unless you're like, you see somebody on the screen and you're like, that's gonna be me. But like the community element of it, where somebody extends an offer and you are of the temperament where you simply accept the offer, is what makes a good actor. I think that sort of fundamental personality trait of, sure, why not?
Yeah, okay. I have no idea why I was like, okay, stranger, I will audition. Sure.
Yeah.
It just felt so natural. I didn't even have to think about it.
And that is the work.
Yeah.
Just following impulses. And I want to talk a bit about the work, obviously, with you. So one of the things that I am excited to talk with you about is a little short film that you just did.
Oh, yeah.
Speed Queen 51, which was at the Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. Palm Springs Film Festival.
Yeah,
that
I
you
had
went
its
to.
world premiere there at their Short Fest.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the film. You sent it to me.
I did.
You're such a fucking good actor, Jane. Like, so in this short, I'm not supposed to talk about
gosh.
plot, right? Because it's like,
yeah. So basically, it is two strangers who meet in a laundromat at night, and they decide to trade secrets.
Yes, that's the tagline, the log line.
Yeah.
And you are one of the strangers, and the other stranger.
Yes, it's myself and Rory Culkin.
Rory Culkin.
Yes.
How was that for you, acting with because we've acted together, and I mean, I'm pretty famous, but I'm not Rory Culkin. How did you navigate that?
Like working with Rory?
Yeah. Well, what was it like for you to be like, wow, this is a name?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was really wonderful and exciting. First off, I was just so surprised that I was chosen for this role, and so surprised to hear that it was Rory. That just wasn't on my radar at all. And for me, it was exciting because I felt like I was finally going to be able to show myself and prove to myself that I can do this. Like I can actually stand on my own 2 feet with an actor who has been doing this for years. And because that's something I've always felt like kind of insecure about. Can I actually do it?
Why?
Can I actually deliver?
Why?
Because I'm an insecure person. No. I'm not insecure. I'm an anxious person. I think those are two different things. So I have anxiety, and when it comes to acting, there's just always this fear. And so when I heard that I was going to be acting with Rory, I was really nervous that my anxiety would take over. But it didn't.
It didn't. I mean,
Thank God.
watching your performance, it was startlingly naturalistic.
Thank
like
you.
the rhythm that you found for this character of like careful consideration and thought, the poise, the withdrawal, the listening, the judgment, the gaze. Like it was really, really, I thought, kind of a clinic in like contained energy.
Yeah.
As a character.
Thank you.
And it was so exciting to see you acting with Rory, who, a significant actor, and to be like, yeah, she's fucking doing it.
Yeah. Like whenever I watch it, I just think, wow, yeah, I fucking did that.
Yeah.
Like I was on the screen with a pro and I did a good fucking job.
Yes. It's so great to hear that from you also.
Oh, thank you.
Because you know, a lot of actors are falsely or genuinely modest, but like incapable of saying, I did a good job. And you did a good job.
Yeah, I think I did a really good fucking job with that film. I do. And I don't say that as someone who's full of themselves. I say it as someone who has come a very long way when it comes to figuring out who they are and figuring out their art, and what a challenge that has been for me.
Tell me more. Tell me more about that.
Oh. Well, I think it's just so hard to figure out what your style is, what your technique is. And I think sometimes there can be pressure from teachers or directors to go one way when your instincts are telling you to go another way. And that's even more difficult if you have anxiety, because it becomes even harder to listen to your gut. And so where was I going with this?
About finding your own sort of confidence in your craft.
Yes. And so that's why I feel okay saying, oh, I did a really good fucking job, because it's taken me a long time to be able to say that. And before I did the film, I made a promise to myself. I said, Jane, you're going to do this the way you want to. You're going to act the way you want to, not what you think you're supposed to do or what you think the audience wants, what you think the camera wants. I want to do it the way I have wanted to do it for a long time.
And that translated to really, I think, a magnetic performance.
Thank you.
What you said about not thinking about what the camera wants, I think, is so important. I have something that I have a habit of doing is directing my attention and energy towards the audience. Because I mean, I do theater much more than I do film, right? And the roles that I've been getting lately are like more classical or more abstracted. I tend not to work in a naturalistic mode, so it makes a lot of sense for me to be like, audience, hello. And I'm not like doing it for their approval, but I'm trying to include them. That's important for me. But it can also kind of hamstring me where it's like, especially on film, because I did a short recently and I watched recently, and it was like, oh, I can tell that right there I'm thinking about the camera. I can tell right there that I'm making a choice about being available to the camera. And when I watched your performance, there were a lot of moments where you were completely unavailable, where you had a moment of thought downward, away from the camera, to yourself, which made it so much more exciting. Because it was like, oh, this character has a life outside of what the camera wants to get at. And it drew me into curiosity and engagement with this character, where she has something to hide. So how do you then go about like doing it your way? Unless you don't want to give up the secret.
No, that's a really good question. How do I go about doing it my way?
I can frame it slightly differently if you want.
Yeah.
I've seen you act and I've acted with you. The type of part that I've seen you do a lot, not type capital T. We don't believe in type.
Yes,
but it seems like there is a texture that is really exciting to watch you access, which is the sort of like person slightly on the outside, a little bit reserved, holding their tongue, ready to explode at any moment. Like that was you in Dancing at Lughnasa. That was in Scrubland. You played 3 versions of this character, kind of, except the last one, she was much more plain spoken, but like 2 characters who were contained. And in the short that you did with this director before, in Flight of the Kiwi as well.
Oh, yes. So the director is Sarah Nocquet, and I did Flight of the Kiwi with her and Speed Queen 51. She's amazing.
But watching watching you in these roles, I noticed some sort of commonalities. Like there's often your hands are expressing maybe what your voice or body can't.
Oh, right.
Like it's really interesting to see like returning to a theme, you know, in the way that Monet would paint a bunch of lilies and we don't think, well, he's repeating himself. I think it's totally natural for an actor to gravitate towards a certain kind of character and hone in, you know? So is that something that's conscious on your part?
Yes and no. So I do hone in on certain aspects of characters. However, the hands specifically, I definitely owe that to Sarah, because Sarah, who directed both of the films, because Sarah really has a way of observing her actors and seeing how they're expressing their bodies and the way that the characters feel about the space and each other. She really picks up on that. And I think that's where those hand shots come from. So both times I remember I was playing with my hands and she would tell the camera person, get her hands or get his hands. So she really picks up on that stuff. And I love that she included it in the final cut because it really does tell this story of what the character is going through internally. And yeah.
Yeah. But on the level of sort of finding your way into a character, like by returning to at least what to me feel like characters who mirror or echo or rhyme with each other, what does that do for you in terms of your process?
Oh my God, you're right. They do rhyme. That's crazy. Okay, I don't really know if this is going to answer your question, but I'm going to do my best.
It's all we can ever do.
Yes.
Unless we don't try.
Correct. I think the reason why they rhyme and why it has to do with my process is because I always try to find something in the character that I really relate to. I try to find myself in the character. And I think maybe that is what creates that rhyming, what sort of, I don't know, it's kind of like me in the role, we just sort of gravitate towards one another. And if a director hands me that role or casts me in it, I kind of have to trust that there's a part of me in that character that is waiting to be found. And my guess is the director has already found it, or the casting director already sees that connection. And so I just sort of trust that, you know, I was chosen for this role for a reason, and I try to figure out what that reason is. And that really allows me to play into the characters honestly. And yeah, I think that's sort of why all of these characters rhyme, because there's just like a tiny little piece of me that I really hone in. It's not the same piece. I have a lot of different layers, and like there are some layers that connect more to certain characters than others, but I think that's where that rhyme comes from.
That's really interesting. I think also because the work I've seen you in have been repeat directors too. Mm-hmm. Like we did Dancing Lughnasa together with Miguel Bregante. I think this is like the 5th fucking time that his name has made a cameo on this show. Listen, it's a network and that's how it works, guys. Mm-hmm. But like, so he directed us in that, and you had also worked with him before. Yeah,
I've worked with Miguel many times, and Sarah is also a repeat director. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I do tend to repeat work with directors, and I think again that just sort of comes down to the characters. Like, I gravitate towards these characters, and my guess is that the directors also kind of see that. I'm not sure. I'm kind of rambling.
Well, what is it like for you for the short film, for example, to do the short film, have that process, and then wrap it, and then be like, and now we're doing another one? Like, how did you get this this part?
Oh my God, that's so funny. So Sarah, we did fly to the Kiwi, I think in 2019.
You did look younger.
Yes, I was a baby. And during that time, my anxiety as an actor was very high. I just moved to the city. This was actually, I think, my very first film in New York. And it was hard. It was really hard performing while also dealing with just internal fears and thoughts. And so after that project, I don't know, I wasn't very happy with just my performance. And Sarah had actually reached out again during COVID and said, hey, I would really like to work with you again on this small project. And I was so flattered because I really admire Sarah's work. And I was just so flattered that she wanted to work with me again, even though I had felt like I really hadn't done a good job. I couldn't do it at the time, so I told her no. I was super bummed that I couldn't do it. And then again, she reaches out to me about like a year or two later, and she told me about this film she was doing. She sent me the script. I loved it. I thought it was so good. And she said, I wrote it with you in mind. So if you want it, it's yours. And I was just so shocked. Like, this director knows what she wants. And we'd only worked together once. And it was many years back. And it was at a time in my life when I was so new. Like I said, I was a baby. I was fresh. And she still wanted to work with me. And that was such a, I don't know, like I felt like she put so much faith in me. And it truly just meant so much. And so we got coffee, we talked about the film. And at the end, she said, oh, by the way, your co-star is Rory Culkin. And I was like, I know the name. Can you just like brush me up a little bit on like what he's been in? And she did. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I get in the cab and I look up Rory and I was like, oh, that's Rory. So I was really happy and excited, and it was really cool. And yeah, so it was just like lovely getting to work with the director again, the same director.
And what you said about like her knowing what she wants, I think was super evident. Even like the first few shots of the film, like I felt immediately trusting of like, hey, there's a vision. Here's an offer that I'm making as a director, you know, with like the rolling of the cart and like the dripping of the water. It's like, okay, we're paying attention to details here, you know, which I think is maybe one of the reasons why she brought you on, because you also, I think, have that same attention to detail. And you were telling me that like you felt that and maybe this has to do with her being so like clear of vision. But you were telling me that you felt like your own choices were really like honored in that way.
So yes, Sarah has an eye for detail and such a vision. And so Sarah and Rory, they both really, I feel like all three of us really honored one another's choices and visions for these characters. So it was one thing I loved about working with Rory was that when I made a choice as an actor, like let's say the camera's rolling, we're doing the scene, if I made a choice, he would follow me down that road. And that was just so affirming. Like, wow, okay, like I made this choice. It was kind of a bold one. And he's like going down that road with me. And so that was really exciting. I felt so deserving. I don't know. It was lovely. And he would make a choice and I would follow him down that road. And it felt so good to have him invite me down that road. And same with Sarah, like she just gave me so much room to make choices, so much room, in fact, that I actually had no idea how this story was going to be told, because she let me make just so many different choices and how I responded to this person approaching me at the laundromat. Like sometimes I would do it kind of scared. Sometimes I would do it really open. Sometimes I would do it really flirty. And so I really had no idea like what the story would end up being. And the fact that she trusted me to make these decisions and choices and to just play was, again, like an honor.
Well, what was the shoot like? Because it was basically one location, a laundromat, and then outside the laundromat.
Yeah.
Like, how long was it? How much time did you have to make these choices to play?
It was 2 nights. And 2 nights from like 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. And we also had like some rehearsal beforehand. We would meet at Sarah's apartment and rehearse, try to figure out the dynamic with these characters, play some more, see what works, what doesn't. Yeah. I'm
so glad that it was such an affirming experience. Because I mean, we've seen it. People listening maybe haven't seen it, well, almost certainly haven't seen it, right?
Right.
Unless they were at the Palm Springs Film Festival. Will it be available?
Yeah, I think so. It definitely will be. I just don't know when.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea when it will be available.
On the level of affirming experiences, what was it like for you going to the festival to see your work celebrated?
Oh, man. Well, it was... I was kind of speechless throughout the whole thing. My good friend Louie, who you know, she came with me.
Also dancing at Lughnasa. Also needs to come on the show.
Yes, yes. So the festival was in California, and I could have gone alone, but I just sort of felt like, you know, I need someone there to experience it with me, someone who I love. So I asked Nanuli if she would come with me, and she was so supportive throughout the whole thing. And watching the film in an actual movie theater with an audience.
Was that the first time that you had done that?
That I had ever seen myself in a movie theater.
Isn't it fucking crazy?
It is. It's really crazy.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. My heart was racing.
Did you take any pictures? Any sneaky pictures of yourself on the screen?
Someone's got pictures, probably Sarah or Nanuli. So yeah, it was a joy also to hear the audience actually react, to hear the audience gasp
and to get to enjoy it, and to get to enjoy it without having to think about. And the next line is the work is done, and now fuck.
Yeah.
It's sorry, I have kind of jumped on my own question to you, but it's not something I can really talk about with a lot of people, because it's even among like my acting circle, people who do short films and stuff, they often end up on the internet. And like I got to see a short that I did screened at the Lincoln Center as part of like an MFA showcase type thing. It really is like nothing else. It was a performance I was like pretty happy with also. So I think it would have been different if I wasn't. But anyway, back to you. The hearing people respond, your choices, to gasps, to like, were you ever self-conscious?
No, And it was such a lovely feeling. Just not being self-conscious. Yeah, it was lovely. I also just really appreciate, I know I just like keep singing Sarah and Rory's praises, but I mean, truly, Rory made me feel really good on set, and Sarah made me feel really good on set, and the way that Sarah edited it. Yes. She just made it so fucking beautiful. And the sound design, like all the editing and the sound designing, the coloring, I had nothing to be self-conscious about. Yeah. My scene partner, like I just had nothing to be self-conscious about.
I think that's good. Go figure. But also, like, I think important to be able to recognize and notice that. Because especially on a film, self-consciousness is kind of pointless because, especially if you're watching it once it's already fucking done, it's like, man, if you wanted to do any changes, that should have been months ago, you know? Mm-hmm. So, like, what's the point of it's not like a show where it's like, oh, I didn't like my choice, I'll try a different one tomorrow. So I'm really glad to hear that. Like, it's just so great to talk to somebody who did a good job and had a good time doing a good job, you know, especially with like a star who is not a given. It's not a given that you're a newish actor and you're working on a short film with a star and they're going to be affirming of your choices. And
right.
Like, I think it's just, and I'm so happy for you that you had like a good overall time.
Mm-hmm. Right. It was lovely. Yeah, such a good time. And like you said, someone who has been in the business for a long time, when they're working with an actor like me, who hasn't been in the business for quite as long,
a talented upstart.
Yeah. You know, they could have not taken me seriously. They could have run the whole show. But that's what I really appreciated about Rory, is that I really just felt like his equal. And he made it such a good experience.
Huge. Huge. Did you see any other shorts at the festival?
I did.
Anything as good as yours?
Oh, they were all so good. They were really good. They were all really good.
Moving away from Speed Queen 51 for just a moment. I mentioned earlier how I feel like a lot of the characters that you play, I landed, I think, on rhyme as maybe a better way of expressing the feeling I have about them. But also, they have bad times and meet bad ends, at least 60% of the time, from what I've seen. And how do you approach playing a character who is having a bad time without having a bad time?
That's a really good question. It's almost like, okay. I once had a professor say, I'm going to sound like such an awful person. I had a professor say that acting should be fun. And at the time, I thought to myself, no, like acting isn't always fun. Sometimes we have to suffer to really connect with our characters. That was my mindset in the past, and I don't believe that anymore. So when it comes to approaching a character who's going through a bad time, it's fun. There's something fun about it. And I, Jane, don't end up having to have a bad time. It's like I'm having fun having a bad time with this character.
Do you think it has to do with how you are willing to really relate and connect to the characters?
Yeah. Because this character's fucking pissed off. And I'll be pissed off for this character. And there's just something so satisfying and so fun. So it's like such a high. Like if I'm on stage and I'm putting someone in their fucking place, God, that feels so fucking good.
Yeah, it feels good to watch. Like a moment I'm thinking of that I think serves this serves to illustrate this is in Scrubland. What was Leon's character's name? The first one, the miner.
Frank. Oh no, Leon's gonna be so sad. I can't remember his name.
Leon, write in and tell us.
Frank, I think.
Also, I asked Steven to send me the script so I can I can
think
check.
it's Frank.
Well, whatever. Okay. Leon's character. So when you were talking to your husband, right, in the first scene, and just fucking ripping into him, I watching it also felt the excitement and the joy of getting to say the thing that you never get to actually say.
Yes. And in everyday life, there are things that I don't say that, oh man, if I said them, God damn, that would feel so fucking good. It would just feel so good. And so I just channel that into these characters who are angry, who are suffering. It's like I get to finally just like fucking say it.
And it's electric. The full ownership of it without fear that I think helps to not feel bad, because you get to fully take it on without fear of feeling bad afterwards. And I think that embrace, that welcoming, makes it easy to let go of. I don't know, because that's the feeling I have working with you and watching you work is that, like, Agnes's rant in Dancing at Lughnasa, like, it's free, it's light, it's furious, and then it's gone.
Yes. And there's just something so fun about surprising my scene partner, surprising the audience. Like, I don't know, it's just exciting.
Yeah. Jane, you're just such a fucking good actor.
Thank you, Carl. Oh, gosh. I'm just blushing.
But it's like, it's upsetting to me because no, but seriously, I watch, like, when I was watching Scrubland, just seeing you do fucking perfect choice after perfect choice after perfect choice. It was like, and they're not perfect because there's such a thing as a perfect choice, but because you just took full ownership of them. Thank you. Like, I think of that when I think of the when your second character gets stabbed, what does she say? She has a little quip.
It's
right?
in there pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, great writing from Steven. But like the humor of it. Oops. Well, what can I do now? Is so characterful too. Like for finding those, you say that you look for surprising yourself. How do you go about doing that?
That's a great question.
We should have a little jar.
Yeah, you're so good at this, Carl. How do I go about surprising myself? I just sort of tell myself to forget everything. I trust that everything that we've done in rehearsal, like, we've agreed on what my choices are. We know where I need to get to by the end of the scene. But other than that, like, just do whatever you got to do to get there. And that's sort of what I tell myself. So I just kind of forget everything. And I'm open to failure, even on stage. Even when there's an audience, I am open to just messing up as long as I get to the final destination. And that's how I surprise myself. Because sometimes I totally, like, fuck up.
What does that mean?
That's really surprising.
What does that mean for you?
To fuck up on stage?
Other than, like, saying the line wrong.
Like, sometimes there's an expectation that an actor needs to, like, cry, And if that expectation has been placed on me, either by, like, a director or the script, you know how sometimes scripts say...
Cries hysterically.
Yeah. I just kind of ignore that.
Good.
And so, like, sometimes I do get there, but sometimes I don't. And that might be seen as, like, a failure. It might feel like a failure in the moment, not being able to, like, achieve... crying isn't really the best example, but, sometimes I just don't hit all the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Sometimes I don't hit all the notes, but I still end up at the final destination.
Did you see Stereophonic?
No, but I should.
I agree that you should. It's kind of a miracle. It's a kind of a miracle of a show. Mm-hmm. There's a moment in the show. I'll speak. Do you care about spoilers? Are you a spoiler person?
No, it's fine. You can spoil it.
There's a moment where Sarah.
But wait, no. But your audience might.
Well, too bad for them.
Uh-oh.
Hey, audience, spoilers are bullshit. We know how Hamlet ends. We enjoy it anyway. If a show needs to surprise you with its plot for it to be effective, then it's not a good show. Mm. I have strong feelings. I also feel like the commodification of plot in like the sort of Marvel verse, where the spoiler is the only thing, because it's like, oh, you get the little bit that means you get to watch the next thing. It's just bad for narrative art in general. Welcome to my soapbox. But Sarah Pidgeon in Stereophonic, the name of her character is definitely something. She, in I think the third act, is like singing the song, and she can't hit this high note. And her piece of shit boyfriend who runs the band is like trying to get her there, and he might be her ex at that point, and she's just not getting there. Oh yeah, no. So they break up. So she's trying to hit this note. She can't do it. He's trying to coach her. He's doing a shitty job because he's an asshole. And they go off stage to the aside place, where you can still hear, because the show is amazing, the engineer in the booth, because the show is set up like a recording booth, he turns on the microphone for that space because he wants to hear what's going on. And so we get to hear what's going on.
That's cool.
It's great. They break up. She is like, fuck off. You're done. You're done. You're done. And they come back in. She does another take. And she hits the note as a fuck you. Like, she sings this beautiful song and hits this incredible note and like holds it while fucking staring down this guy. It's such a moment. But sometimes Sarah Pidgeon doesn't hit the note.
Oh, yeah. That's beautiful.
Right? Mm-hmm. The show still has to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I don't know. We don't always have to hit the note. And I think I used to really put that pressure on myself that I have to hit all of the notes in the scene. But then I realized, well, I'm no longer surprising myself if I know like exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to be done and when I'm going to do it. How I'm going to say it, like what inflection I'm going to use, where I'm going to look on the stage. Like if I have all of those choices just planned out, then yeah, I'm not going to surprise myself. So yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a really beautiful example, Carl. Thank you.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. Yeah. Wow. We're just fluffing each other up here, huh?
Oh.
I want to act with you more, I'll say.
Aw, Carl, I want to act with you more too.
Great. Get Miguel on the phone.
Ah, yes.
To all the listeners out there, I will also say that that's kind of like the unspoken assumption for everybody I have on the show, is that these are people that I deeply respect and want to hear from and want to work with. I think it's just very present for me right now with Jane, thinking about all of her excellent acting choices in such detail. So I mean, no disrespect to any of my prior guests or collaborators, some of whom I'm in fact currently collaborating with.
You're so kind, Carl. Just thinking about others.
Hey, you know, as an actor, that's part of the job. Actors have never been known to be ego-driven.
Yeah.
Or
not at all. Never.
Self-obsessed.
Oh God, no.
Especially not actors who start podcasts for themselves.
Oh, I know. Actors are just so misunderstood.
I think actors are maybe the most misunderstood people on earth.
Yeah. So selfless.
So selfless. Heroes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Your festival experience, adapting to how meet returning Miguel character types, background, and values. Something that strikes me in your work that, I mean, we've talked a lot about what you do and how you do it, But something that I think underpins it is you talked about kind of your journey from like finding out how you want to work and owning that.
Mm-hmm.
What are the values that drive that? Like, what in a performance or in a work of art more broadly do you value that you then try to work toward?
I guess like self-compassion, forgiveness, like.
How do you find those in a, like I'm thinking of like if you watch a movie and you're like, that's a good performance, I want to act like that.
I don't know. I wish I had a good answer for you, Carl.
That's allowed.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it does seem like you have a confidence in how you want to work and how you want to approach the work. And I know I personally, I mean, I talk a lot about like, oh, I think this, oh, I think that, I do this, I do that. But I have a kind of naivete almost about like, well, when I get in the room, I'll figure it out. And I don't take ownership, I think, in the work of the work. I try to like offload it to the director, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just serving the director. And it's not like how I want to do it, which I
need to wait. I need to be clear because I don't want it to sound as if like a director gives me a note and then I say, oh, I'm just going to do it my way.
No. It's a collaboration. That's the point, is you bring your ideas and they tell you what they think about them, and then you find something that's in the middle.
Yeah. Like they tell me what I want or what they, oh my God.
Well, some directors will try to do that.
They tell me what they want and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that.
And here's how.
And here's how I will do it.
Yeah. Well, that's why they want you and not somebody else.
And then they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that's clear. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that you clarified that, maybe for folks who are listening who don't have such an unspoken familiarity with like the process of building a role. But I think I certainly, in the incipient stages of that, do struggle to say, I want to work this way. This is what I want out of it. I connect to this in the character. I was talking with Joanna in the last episode where I do kind of maybe abstract it or intellectualize it as like, well, I think this character might be this, and I'll bring it in and test that way. But I'm less comfortable or confident saying like, this element of the character is what I relate to. I often keep it in technical terms of like, oh, the movement is intriguing or whatever. So I'm just curious about like what the artistic values are that enable you to so confidently be vulnerable, I guess. And it makes sense maybe if that's not such an easily available answer. Because we're all trying to make good art, right? But what good art means is different to everybody.
Right. So are you asking...
It might be...
like, how do I own my performance? Like, what does it mean for me to own my work? To own my choices?
Maybe. I think what I am... yeah, let's call that the end point of this sort of journey. How do you own your choices?
That's a really good question. Okay.
It only took me 10 minutes to figure it out.
I think it just kind of has to do with what feels good. And I've done a lot of acting that just doesn't feel good. And when I do what feels good and I watch it back, like on a self-tape, and if I'm really happy with the way it looks or the way it's performed, that tells me, okay, I did something right. And at the end of the day, I really do care a lot about what I think of my performance. And because I'm going to be with myself for the rest of my life. And I need to really like what I'm doing. It does no one any good if I don't think I'm doing a good job. If I can't like have faith in what I'm doing. And so I guess just after like many years of training and finding what works, I feel very confident in my technique and my approach and my mindset. And so that's what allows me to own it, because I've done the work. And if someone doesn't like the performance, that's fine. Like, sometimes I'm going to have really bad performances. Sometimes I'm going to be given a character that just doesn't fit me. It feels wrong. Other people are going to pick up on that. That's fine. But what is not fine is me feeling like I strayed away from my technique, or feeling like I abandoned my instincts. And so that's what allows me to really own a performance, is knowing that I'm prioritizing just my heart.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Jane, thank you for being here. Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you, Carl.
Before we go, I need two things from you. Mm-hmm. The first, well, I also need you to sign the release, but that'll be after. I want to know if there's anything that you would have wanted me to ask you that I didn't.
No. You asked lovely questions.
Thank you. Second, where can people find you?
You can find me online at janepurnell.com. That's with 2 L's.
And no F.
And no F. But on my Instagram, yes, there's an F. jfpurnell.com. Or just jfpurnell on Instagram. You can also find me in coffee shops, because I love coffee shops. And yeah, audience, please keep in mind, I am not media trained. Please provide me all of your forgiveness.
I have a large and very aggressive audience.
Good. And they just leave a lot of hate comments.
So many comments.
Yeah. You should send them to me.
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just print them out.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Mail them to me. That would really make my day.
I mean, you clearly impacted somebody, right?
Hell yeah, I did.
Yeah.
They'll be like, you thought you did a good fucking job on that film.
Well, I saw it. I was at Palm Springs. My name is Leonardo DiCaprio.
And like, you were not good.
I feel like there was a funnier person I could have said, but he was the first name that came to mind. So I trusted my instincts, and look where it fucking got me.
Yeah, trust your instincts.
Got me to a bad punchline.
No, it was fine. Don't worry.
Wow, you're such a good actor. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in. I've been Carl Bindman. This has been Jane Purnell, and catch you next time.
Bye.
That was Jane Purnell. I've been Carl Bindman, and this has been Artworkers, the Independent Artists Forum. You can get in touch with me at my website, carlbindman.com, with any questions, concerns, comments, revisions, corrections, and if I'm feeling frisky, I might showcase some of your thoughts after the next episode. As always, thank you to Louie Zong for the use of the theme song of this show, Fragments, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.